Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. We're here today for a tag. It's been an awfully long time since I've done one. I've been wanting to get back into doing book tags. I have a backlog of them, but am I going to do the ones that I'm tagged in? No, I'm going to do a tag that I saw a couple months ago, really wanted to do at the time and didn't get around to it. And it kind of died off. It didn't get the momentum I would have hoped. And so I'm going to hopefully revitalize it and get it pushed around the booktube community a little bit. But this is the Tea Time with Me tag. I saw it on Olivia Savannah's channel, Olivia's Catastrophe, and this was her original tag. And it's all to do with different types of tea-inspired book prompts. So that is just great and cozy. You may or may not know I'm going through Invisalign treatment in my mouth. And you can't have hot drinks while you have your Invisalign in your mouth. So I'm desperate for wanting tea that I can't have all day, especially through the winter here. We're going through another cold front right now, so I'm really missing it. So this is going to give me those cozy tea vibes without actually having to jeopardize my Invisalign treatment. So let's dive into the prompts here. The first prompt is Mint Refresh, a book that does something refreshing. And I actually have a collection here. I have a collection of novellas, Neon Yang's The Tensorate series. I absolutely love this whole series. I've read all 4 novellas in here, and they are fresh and refreshing in that these 4 novellas are all set in the same world, following connected characters. But each character perspective is so wildly different as you move through these novellas, and the style changes with each novella very dramatically. We have different POVs, even the final one is in second person. We have one that's in a mixed media format. So they're all just wildly innovative and different, and they do build into a larger story. It's not a single plot arc by any means, but they cohere into a single story. And I just adore this collection and think it's very fresh and refreshing. The second prompt is Revitalise, a book you need to pay attention to understand. And I would say that is Sorrowland by Rivers Solomon. This one is a little all over the place. This is horror, this is sci-fi, it's fantasy. There's a lot going on here. It's got a compelling plot, it's very well written, and it's a gripping story with a lot to say, but you do kind of have to pay attention because of how much is going on in order to take away all of those elements. So definitely Sorrowland for that one. The third one is Blackcurrant Beauty, a book rich in writing. And I had a number of options for this, but this one I have not talked about as much as I probably should have. This is My Heart by Smezidine Mehmedinovic and translated by Celia Hawksworth. So I read this for the BookTube Prize last year, and it's an autofiction memoir. I would call it more memoir, but the writing is what's so lovely about this. It's really focused on 3 sort of major stories from his life surrounding his literal heart and his figurative heart, the people around him and his family who he loves. And it's just so beautifully written. This is an author who is also a poet, writing in his native language, though he has come to America and speaks English. He's writing in his native language because of his connectedness to it. So I do want to read a brief passage from this one. I have no biography. A friend emailed me from Zagreb and asked, "How is S?" He doesn't know her, or rather, he knows her only as S, the way I most frequently used to refer to her in my texts. He was inquiring not about the health of my wife, but about the health of my literary character. I had already described almost everything important that had happened to me in my prose or poems, turning almost my entire life into fiction. It was now a collection of illusions, fairly unreliable, so that it would be hard to construct a factual account of my life. For years, I've been transforming your body into words. That's my infidelity. So I think it has so much to say in the prose and the word choices that he makes, and I just think it's a very lovely book. The next one is Winter Warmer, a book that's perfect for winter. This is a regular go-to for me for winter, snowy, cold selections, but this is my copy of A Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. And as you can tell, this is a very cold book because the entire setting is a planet known as Winter, or Gethin. So we are following a lengthy ice journey after some political upheaval, And it just has cold to the bone vibes. Everyone is very adapted to the cold there, except for our main character, who is an ambassador from off planet, who is not so well built for this cold setting. So I adore this. This is one of my all-time favorite novels, and of course a very freezing cold wintry novel. Next, we have Lemon, Ginger, and Manuka Honey, an old favorite that brings you comfort. This is another perennial book that I bring up as an old childhood favorite. That's The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame, and I have this lovely illustrated junior library edition. Let's see if I can find you guys a good picture here. And this is just a pastoral novel of these animal characters, anthropomorphic animals who live on the riverbank. And they have these misadventures, very, very low stakes though. It's all about their day-to-day life and the comedic affairs of this small animal community. So one of my definite childhood favorites. Next, we have Ginseng Matcha, a book full of things you don't usually like, but you loved anyway. And this is maybe an odd one because I did absolutely love this one, and it's very popular on BookTube. This is The Overstory by Richard Powers. So this is kind of an epic fantasy novel without real fantasy. There's a minor speculative element in there that's a little fantasy-esque, but this is very grounded in reality and in science and environmentalism, but the structure of it is epic fantasy, and I don't tend to love that. It also starts with these individual character stories, so we're getting backstory for many characters. I don't really like huge cast stories most of the time, and in many of these cases we're getting a generational saga, which is another thing I really don't like in books. And so those elements came together to make a better story as a whole. So once we do have that sort of epic fantasy trope, I would say, of hearing about all of these characters individually and then them slowly coming together, that's what happens here, in the style that's played out of the story. I think it worked. I really, really enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite books the year that I read it, and yeah, I absolutely loved it enough that I bought my own copy after reading it from the library, so definitely one that worked for me. Then we have Three Cinnamon, a heartwarming book. And this might not be the traditional pick, but I've got a nonfiction selection, one of my favorite nonfiction of last year, My Life in France by Julia Child. And this is obviously not typical, but it's so heartwarming in that it's cozy and has a true sense of place and connectedness with the place, as well as food. Heavy food writing here, definitely. So Julia Child just gets across her exuberance for life and how much she adores everything about where she is and her connectedness with the people surrounding her. She truly captures what she loves about France and her excitement for becoming involved in the food world, because she went from basically not having any interest in even cooking at home to being a full-on foodie there and running a cooking school. So I just love this for all of those vibes of the setting and her excitement about life. Next one is Original Chai, a retelling recommendation. So for this one, I have a kind of little known book. This is Peter Darling by Austen Chant, and this is a Peter Pan retelling, but it's not traditional at all. This is a trans man Peter Pan story, enemies to lovers with Captain Hook. So it is a very, very dark enemies to lovers, I would say, in that they truly are at odds and vile enemies to each other. But this uncovers so many layers to the characters that I just adore this retelling. I've actually been wanting to reread it, so I need to get to this one soon. We are nearing the end. We have Chamomile, Vanilla, and Manuka Honey next. And that's a book that is so soothing you can sleep easy after reading. And I have The Guest Cat by Takashi Harade and translated by Eric Selland. And this one I don't see talked about nearly as much as it should be on BookTube. This is a very slim little novella. It's almost slice of life-y in that we're following a couple who just make room in their lives for this neighborhood cat who strolls into their home. And he comes and goes as he pleases and is just an addition to their life that makes them happier and better for it, his presence. And so they have this amazing, again, we're going back to connectedness. Connectedness is a big theme in a lot of these books, But yeah, the connectedness between this couple and this cat that they have come to care so much for is what this is all about. Very, very simple and quiet novel. And the last one is Fennel, a book that's good for you even if you didn't wholeheartedly love it. And for that one, I have a booktube fave that is Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. So I didn't love everything about the portrayal of the character or the storytelling to this. The writing is incredible. It's so compelling to read, and everything about this screams like important book. And so I think that's why it's so popular on BookTube. Like, this is truly a feat of an accomplishment of debut writing. And that's why Akwaeke Emezi is such a massive writer on BookTube, and why they have sort of proliferated across all of their works, across very different sorts of books, why people love their work so much. So yeah, this was one that it was the first one I picked up from Emezi, and I have continued to enjoy their work since this. So great, great book. So that is it for the tag. Who do I want to tag? I want to tag, starting off with AJ Dunn from AJ Dunn Reads and Writes, because they are also going through Invisalign and perhaps are missing real tea and might like some virtual tea as well. And then I want to tag some folks who give me cozy vibes. First, My Cozy Chronicles, Ellie. It's great. I discovered Ellie's channel back with the 12 Days of Cozy over the holidays, and her partner, Gina Stanier, is the queen of cozy as well. Regardless of what she's talking about, she always gives off the most comfortable and cozy vibe. And I want to tag Dia from Novel Idea, because she doesn't lean into anything specifically cozy, but she just has such a joyful, uplifting, and comforting vibe in her videos that I want to tag Dia. So that is it for me today. Thanks so much for watching.